Hey there, this is Patty, and thank you so much for joining me on this episode of the Position to Profit podcast. Can you believe we're at episode 70? I am so excited. I have as a personal goal to get my episodes to over 153. The last podcast that I launched, we had 153 episodes, I believe, and so that's just a personal milestone. And I love podcasting so much, and today is no different. So I am featuring Melissa Salmeron on the show today. She's a life coach, and she was in one of my group coaching programs, and it was so nice to see her vision come to fruition. Nothing is more gratifying as a coach, helping guide people to, so there's a saying I always say, I'm like, your message matters, right? Your message matters. It's so important what you are working on and what you have to say, and so it's really gratifying to see that she's moving forward with her coaching business. So you're going to hear all about how she found her messaging and what she's working on to help these overworked moms and what she's doing to build her community as well. Super fulfilling. I hope you enjoy the show as much as I enjoy hosting her. And here we go. Hey there, I'm Patty Dominguez. You're about to discover what it means to position your brand and your business to stand out. This show explores the stories of small business owners just like you who are bringing their message out to the world and impacting their tribe. So if you want to take your business to a category of one status, then hang with me because this podcast shares everything you need to know about how to be more prolific with your brand so that you can have more profits. All right. Well, thank you, Melissa Salmeron, for being on the show. I'm so excited to have you here. And I want to naturally go into a little bit of a backstory about you. So would you share your 3-minute story, your background, and really what brought you to where you're doing now?
Yeah. Well, first of all, Patty, thank you so much for having me on. I mean,
of course,
such an honor and privilege. I love your work. You are amazing. I cannot sing your praises highly enough. So a little bit about me is I'm a mom of 3. I've got a 10-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 14-month-old. And so, life is very fun at my house. But one of the things, I always wanted to be a mom. I always knew I wanted to be a mom. But I didn't really know what that was going to look like until you're in it. You don't know. You don't know what you don't know. So, I knew, one thing though, is that I wanted to be a model for my kids, and, knowing that they learn through action and not necessarily through words. And so, when I became a mom, and even before I became a mom, I just became sort of obsessed with personal development, to, be the person I need to be so that I can model for them. And so that kind of led me into the world of coaching. And so that's what I do now. And I just love helping other moms navigate the whole process of, whether they're starting motherhood, whether they're in the trenches with, a couple of kiddos, and they're just sort of like in the weeds. I enjoy helping them through, as I said, navigate through that.
And how specifically? So, I mean, as a mom myself, going back to, my kids are a little bit older. My oldest is 19, my youngest is 17 and just in high school doing his thing there. And obviously the problems are different. So is your sweet spot like moms of born to preteen, or like, is there any consideration on that? Or really, is it any kind of mom that has a kid that is in that state of whether she's overworked and tired or whatever? So is it a kid tie-in with the age, or is it just how they're feeling?
Yeah, not necessarily. It's so interesting because I think most of us identify with moms being overwhelmed when they have the newborn and they bring it home for the first time. And that certainly is, a life changer. But it's surprising to me that the moms that I'm talking to most often are, in the same stage of life as me, or even have teenagers. And there's just, there's still things that overwhelm them in life, really, whether it's time management, whether it's just, taking the time for the self-care, or whether they're just sort of unhappy and resigned to, giving everything to everyone else, but they don't know how to get out of it.
I think that's a very important point because I have seen other, so it's more focused on the moms as opposed to the parenting. And I would assume
Exactly.
I'll never forget. I was watching an episode of Oprah one time, and there was a psychologist who was on there, and it was all about. As a matter of fact, I had gotten a call from the Oprah show because I made a comment on a blog because of where I was in that moment where I had my oldest son. I was pregnant with my second son. I was working full time and I was going to grad school full time. Like, talk about making it so hard on myself. And I remember being on some kind of a parenting, I think it was parenting.com or something like that. There was a blog and they were just kind of commenting on what parenting means. And I'm like, I don't know what it means. I had put in this moment of desperation, but I said, but I really think I'm like, is this all there is? Like this crazy, chaotic, painful, no time for myself, always looking to like spin plates everywhere. Like there was no focus on self-care whatsoever. Anyway, long story short, it came to the point where I was at home and somebody had contacted me from the Oprah show. They
Wow.
wanted to do a story. It was so random. They wanted a story on what like moms who regretted being moms. I'm like, well, no, I don't regret being a mom. I'm very happy to be a mom, but it's just like I didn't have the ability to say, how am I going to manage this? I really don't know. And nobody was really addressing it at the time. So this was around 2004-ish or so. So I just like, I love what you're saying because it has to do with the mom first. Long story short, that program with Oprah and the psychologist, he said, nobody's talking about the fact that you have to take care of yourself first. Interestingly enough, number 2 is the husband or the significant other. And number 3 are the kids. And he said, most people always put the kids first. And then the husband, and that, so it's like totally flip-flopped. And
Right.
but again, I didn't have like, well, okay, so how do you do it? So is like, are you saying like it's mom first? She's the one that should be taking care of herself
That's
first.
exactly what I'm saying. That is exactly what I'm saying. And so, I mean, it's it's the society around us, right? It's our families. It's the just the way we're conditioned to believe that we become a mother and we give ourselves completely away, and it's reinforced. It's just reinforced all around us, and even within like mom friends, there's this sometimes this feeling that we have to have done it all, and the kids show up perfectly and they've got the perfect bento box lunch, and it's it's ridiculous.
I
It's
know.
just so ridiculous, because what I found for myself, is that, when I started showing up for myself, there was this complete ripple effect. My marriage started improving. My husband started stepping up more and helping. I was able to ask for help and not feel guilty about it. And my kids, I was more present with my kids. And so it's just truly life changing when you do put yourself first.
I love that. I love that. Okay, so with that said, now I have clarity on that whole thing of how you're helping the mom to own her like what she needs first. So talk to me about how you make it different, like from a differentiation standpoint, because this is a Positioning to Profit podcast. How
Mhm.
have you carved that out? How have you made what you're doing different and compelling for that target audience, which are those like overworked moms who are looking for a solution? I could have used you in 2004, like big time, just being in that space. So how do you help people through that? How do you help moms like in that situation?
Yeah. So I developed what I call the CARE method. And that's an acronym. And what that stands for is being consciously connected, meaning like when you are able to understand yourself, and the way you communicate, then you can better express what your needs are, and get the help that you need. And ultimately, that leads again to just so much more, that it just will make your life better. The A is for inner awareness. And that's really something that I think moms really need to hear, is that it's okay to slow down. It's okay to take 5 minutes and, do a meditation or sit in silence or take a few deep breaths. And so, I talk a lot about different methods or modalities that you could use to really just get quiet. There's so much power in that. And I know you know that, Patty.
Mm-hmm.
And then the R is for re-energize. So, what are some of the tools that we can use to just help us? And these are sort of the things that everyone talks about. But when you're combining them in this method, they take on so much more power. So there's a few things we talk about there. There's, your habits. There's, like taking responsibility. And I think most mothers think of themselves as responsible. So this is responsibility and the fact that, you have the power to create or to really like live the life that you want when you take ownership of it. So it's really stepping into that ownership. And then boundaries. And boundaries were huge, I know, for me. And it's still something that I work on. But having the proper boundaries in place with your partner, with your kids, even. I mean, kids need to understand boundaries too. And I think a lot of moms, that's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to think about putting boundaries with them, but they love it and they love structure, and it's so freeing for you. And then the last step is just like re-energizing. So like, how can we step into our power? And so, like some of it is, let's get our priorities in order. Let's really look at, time management is something that all moms say, I'm so busy. I have no time. But when you look at it from a time management standpoint, and you're really clear on, how you're spending your time as it relates to the things that matter most to you, it's just a game changer.
I love that. Yeah. I love that. I love it. It's so important. And all of those points are so they all work together in order to give you the freedom to focus on yourself as a mom and to make it light and right. You know what I mean? Like just being more in the flow instead of being so scatterbrained. Oh gosh. I remember for so long, I was just like, why can't I get my stuff together? I felt like I was constantly chasing my tail and like so reactive. So I think that these inner working focus points are so important to move forward.
Reactive. That was the word that was coming up for me. It's just, and that's how I lived for a long time till I woke up. And I woke up one day and I was like, I don't even know who I am anymore. And it's time to take her back, and it's time to like fully step in. Honestly, for me, that's that part too. So
that's fantastic. Okay. So tell me about how a story of a client or somebody that you've helped with your care method.
Yeah. So I have a client who's got two little ones, actually the same ages as coincidentally as mine. And she really was struggling with boundaries. And we talked a lot about because it's so true. The kids are only little for a short amount of time. It was really, we really had to get her to a place where she could learn to put herself first, right? That it wasn't because, you took a 30-minute nap to yourself on a Saturday after a long week. That didn't mean she didn't love her kids. It didn't mean she wasn't going to have snuggle time and enjoy them. It actually meant that after she was recharged, she could go and really spend that time with them and have that time be all about them, as opposed to showing up tired and cranky and, just not able to really connect.
That's so good. And so talk to me about your group, or you have a Facebook group in which you're creating a community and, just kind of bringing moms together. What kind of experiences are you guys, so what kind of things are you sharing over there in your Facebook
Yeah.
group?
Yeah. Actually, this week, speaking of the time management piece, is I'm sort of breaking down my planning process into snackable moments,
Love that.
so that we're it's a 5-step process, which sounds like a big deal, but it's really not. We're breaking it down day by day, to really, as I said, get clear on your priorities, so that you can just spend a little time up front in the week, but then like be able to like not have that list rolling around in your head. I don't know if you ever experienced this, Patty, when you had young kids, but it's like the never ending to-do list just kind of knocking around in there, and sort of never giving you any peace. um, but yeah, I'm sharing every week different pieces of my care method, sort of breaking it down as well. And we're just having conversations in there. I want that group and that place to be a place that is a safe space for moms to come in and talk about what their challenges are, and to share and to not feel judged.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Because you know the same very well, like what's most personal is most general.
All right, we are about halfway through with this episode of the Position to Profit podcast, and I wanted to stop by with a share that I'm really excited about. Now, the fact that you're here means that you're probably looking for help with your marketing. I mean, let's face it, most of the marketing tips and the buzzwords that you hear out in the marketplace center around tactics that small business owners can employ. The problem with that is that there's a whole lot of tactics out there, but not a whole lot of strategy, and that's where I come in. I help coaches, consultants, and entrepreneurs position themselves for profit. It won't cost you millions of dollars like the big brands, but it will cost you some time. And in this special book that I put together, you can find it over at positioningguide.com, I go into the essentials of positioning to profit, which is a guide that I put together for coaches, consultants, and entrepreneurs struggling to stand out. So head on over to positioningguide.com and grab a copy for yourself. All right, let's get back to the show.
Yes. And so that's the intent behind the group, and I'm just so thrilled to have that space for moms. So yeah,
I love
that's just
that.
a little bit about it.
I love that. Okay, so I know it's a super weird year this year with everything that's been going on, but what are you thinking about as you're moving into 2021 and how you're going to grow your business? Kind of the vision that you have for your coaching business.
Yeah. It is a super weird year. I will say that. Yeah. It's those little things. I think, Patty, you talk about like keep things simple. And so I'm really just focused on growing and nurturing that group, building out a group coaching program for 2021. I'm super excited about that, where we can take advantage of not only the coaching piece of it, but the social learning piece. I know the benefits of how that works, where you've got a bunch of people in there and we're learning from each other, not just from the materials and from the coaching.
That's great. That's great. Okay, couple of questions for you. Person, place, or a thing. What is one thing that inspires you greatly right now?
Silence. Silence is inspiring me.
I love that answer. I got chills. Nobody has ever said that. They always look to the external, but yours is, this is so in alignment with how you help moms, right? Like silence. Ugh, I got chills. Okay, so tell me, why silence?
Yeah. It was so hard for me to slow myself down. It took me many, many years to actually, I always liked the idea of meditation. And that's where I started. I started by going to a physical space and sitting down for 30 minutes and being in a led meditation. And then I read this beautiful book called The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle.
Mm-hmm.
And it changed my life. And then I found our mentor, Jim Fortin,
Mm-hmm.
and he introduced this concept of silence.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful.
I was so resistant, but now I just now I just see, and it's not a long time. I'm a mom. I'm a busy mom of three, right? Like
Yeah.
I spend 5 minutes. 5 minutes is my goal right now. But what comes to me in those 5 minutes of silence is it's incredible.
Well, I love how you call it snackable moments. Is that
Mm-hmm.
what you call it? Snackable moments?
Yeah, stackable moments.
I love that because it is. It's just like these little bite-sized moments of whether a, a bite-sized moment of silence, a bite-sized moment of productivity, a bite-sized moment of connection. And in those little moments is where when you were to aggregate them all, they become really significant, you know? So I love that whole
Absolutely.
concept that you talk about, like those snackable moments. When you brought that up the other day, I was like, I love that so much. That has so much, again, as you know, I think of everything in the marketing way, is like as you're coming across these moments, you can really think of, post a thought-provoking video. Like, here's a snackable moment idea. How, like, when was the last time you, right, gave yourself 5 minutes? And I just think that those are the moments that on the person in the receiving end, they're like, wow, she's saying something that is very doable. I haven't heard that before, right? Like it's new, unique, and exciting. Like, you know, that I talk a lot about. And it's like those little things that people can take action on that gives them that win so that they're building that know, like, and trust with you. I think is very
Mhm.
powerful. So I love that you call it that. I think it's a very smart angle. I do.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So tell me, what's the best thing about being an entrepreneur?
Oh my gosh. It teaches you so much about yourself. Um, I was not prepared for that. Um, I was not prepared for that. But yeah, it's like when I think about, all the myriad of things that need to happen, um, just being committed. You have to be committed. You have to, it just forces you to be in integrity for me, to do what I said I was going to do, to put myself out there. Um, because it's not about me, right? It's about the people I'm there to serve.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm growing throughout that process. And so it's a beautiful thing.
I love that. And then I should have flipped this in order, but what have you found to be the most challenging part about being an entrepreneur?
All the things, all the things that are involved in
Right.
being in the online space. When I had this epiphany that I wanted to become a coach, I thought, okay, like go out and shake some hands and all that. So 2020, like, hello, you can't really even do that right now. So I quickly realized you got to get online with this. And it's an incredible time, right, to do that because the barriers to entry are low. However, there are so many different great tools out there, and how to put those all together. There's a lot to learn around, like content and copywriting, and all the things that you have helped me with. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm so excited for you because I know that the one thing as that's so gratifying, you know this, you're a coach, is when your clients are taking those steps forward and you're seeing the incremental changes and the impact and you're like, "Yes, you're on the way." You know what I mean? Like it's so rewarding to see that. And that's the thing about you is that you take action, which I'm super super excited to see what you build into next year and beyond. So, I know it has such a great value proposition of how you help moms and what you can do for them. And I love the simplicity in which you manage things. And again, it having that inner working focus is so important. And I think it's a really a great and new conversation beyond the positive affirmation. It's not just that, right? There's like some real deeper work that you can help people, that you can help guide people through, moms through, that is so significant and impacts not only her relationship with a significant other, and ultimately the kids. So what you're doing is so important. So I'm so happy to see that you're putting yourself out there, even when it's difficult, even when it's challenging, even when you're not sure what to do, but you're doing it, right? So you're doing the do, you're making it happen. So I really, really respect you for that. Okay.
Thank you, Patty.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So how does a mom who is resonating with this message get a hold of you and participate in your world with everything you have to offer?
Would love to see you in there. And again, it's overworkedmoms with an S.com.
Great. Thank you so much. Again, overworkedmoms.com. It's going to be in the show notes where you can connect with Melissa. And if you're a mom, you're overworked, overwhelmed, why not choose to be connected like Melissa can help you with? I mean, it's a no-brainer. Overworkedmoms.com. All right, Melissa, thank you so much for being on the Positioning to Profit show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for checking out the Positioning to Profit podcast. If you haven't already done so, please make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any new episodes. And also, it would mean the world to me if you would take a quick moment to leave a rating and review on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, or your favorite podcast player. It really helps to get the word out about the podcast and, of course, the featured guests. And lastly, please make sure to connect with me on social media. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, I'm on all of them, and use hashtag positioning to profit so that I can search you out and connect that way too. All right. Thanks so much. See you next time.